Say aye. Aye. And against? Carried, thank you. Next item is CRL update. So a team of people. So while that team comes up, Barry can lead off.
Thank you, Chair. We have the full team of the One Client Alliance, pretty much the full team represented here, which is CRL, Auckland Transport, Auckland One Rail and Kia Rail. The project, I'm sure you'll hear through the presentation, is making really great progress, and I'll speak, I'm sure, to lessons learned. The one thing, and thank you, Chair, for raising this earlier, if we can, we won't be talking today about the opening date, except to say it is getting closer day by day, and hopefully it's not too far away from announcements, but we'll just leave that. If we can avoid questions around that, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Pat, I'll leave it to you to lead off on picking.
Kia ora. Good morning, everyone. I'll take the slide as read, but this is just highlighting that we achieved practical completion of the project on 30 June 2026, which is a major milestone for the project and particularly also for the contractor Link Alliance, which, as you know, is made up of construction companies Vinci, Solitaire Machi and Downer, along with the designers ACOM, Tonkin and Taylor and WSP. So it basically means the project is substantially complete. It also represents a key milestone in terms of transfer of control of the project to my partners on the left with Kia Rail and Auckland Transport. So it's a big milestone for us. It also means the building site is safe or the building is safe and ready for use. Insurance obligations transfer at that point too. At the same time, we also transferred ownership, the value of the assets, therefore, and management transferred to Auckland Transport for the stations and Kia Rail for the tunnel and track. From a value approximation, it's roughly 1/3 in the tunnel and track and 2/3 in the stations. Because there's a lot of complexity and cost in the build of the stations and the systems that the stations require. I'd like to highlight, as I might have touched on before, that the Code of Compliance certificates that we required for each station, and quite a massive undertaking, several terabytes of information were sent to Council, but they did a phenomenal job in providing the Code of Compliance certificates before we reached practical completion, which for major projects is virtually unheard of. So, as I've said before, we're really pleased with the partnership and collaboration we've had from the Auckland Council regulatory team, because that's a major achievement, and I think something that'll come out of the lessons learned as an opportunity for other large-scale projects to build off. But a big thank you to Council team for that. So where we are now, having transferred the assets to our partners, we are in a 2-year defects period, and that will therefore go through to the middle of 2028, whereby we would then achieve hopefully what they call final completion. What we're doing at the moment is closing out residual, we call them snags or minor defects that were existing at practical completion, and these are critical. We're certainly focused on the ones that are critical for us opening the railway or day one. So there's a list of those. We focus on the safety critical minor defects and also service critical. There are virtually no safety critical snags at this point, and we're largely focused on the service critical ones. There is work going on with minor defects that are not considered safety and service critical, but again our primary focus is on those that are safety and service critical. Those minor defects range in terms of degree of difficulty and time taken to resolve, but I can report that we are on schedule for the resolution of those in the timeframe that we would expect. And I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Pat. So in preparation for day one, we undertook a rehearsal of the day one timetable and service pattern on the 9th of July, and that included across the whole network, not just through CRL train services, train control systems obviously, and customer information systems across the board. The rehearsal did follow previous tests and previous lessons learnt from the trials undertaken in January and April. The rehearsal is considered a success, and there's no further timetable impediments to opening day. And the timetable trial did actually demonstrate good reliability and punctuality of the service pattern, resilience to recover from disruptions, and there were some disruptions on the day, and what was very pleasing was to be on the network and talking to staff who demonstrated a high confidence in the operation and the service patterns and the timetables that have been developed. The following few days, on the 10th to the 12th of July, final works were undertaken across the network, which included by QRL final work for ETCS European Train Control System on freight, also further works at Henderson Station and level crossing replacements. So we are now entering into the final stages of readiness, remaining steps. The project is, as Pat's mentioned, just working through with emergency services to close out the recommendations and outcomes from the emergency services tests and trials that have now been predominantly completed. That will lead into final safety certification, which will then allow our rail operator, Auckland One Rail, to obtain the final safety case variation approvals from the rail regulator, NZTA, and QRail to also achieve their safety case variations. That enables the final stage, which is staff roster and workplace change confirmation. AOR have to go through a 5 to 6 week process and to just change rosters, change workplace locations for their staff, and allow staff to have a final consultation process through that. In parallel, we're on track to finalise all customer information and digital information channels as well. There are a number of milestones coming up across the network over the next few weeks. Henderson Station is on track to be open shortly, the extension to the third platform. Drury and Pirata stations will be opened by QRL this weekend, with services commencing on Sunday. And we have progressively started opening the pedestrian overbridges at GI. That happened on Friday. And Tamahia and Takanini will be open in the next few weeks as well.
Morning, everyone. So just in terms of what the public can expect as we get towards this phase, so everyone is obviously anticipating the date being announced, and as Mark said, there's a 5 to 6 week process, and that's the time frame within which everyone can also expect the public announcement to be made. We also confirmed yesterday that we'll be delivering what we're calling our first look at the stations. These are public events that will allow the Aucklanders and I guess maybe people from further afield to come and have a look through the new stations. So the dates of those will be the 8th of August for Maungawhau Station, the 15th for Karanga-Ahapea, and the 22nd for Te Waihorotiu. They will be free but ticketed events, so they'll that's in order to manage, I guess, the crowds and the flow of people on the day. We're obviously hoping a lot of people will come to these pretty significant scale events, and other projects that have done similar open days, that they've proved very, very popular. So we are looking forward to welcoming people to do those. And then, of course, the first day of CRL operations, a new network will go live. That will be on a Sunday. And again, we're probably expecting quite a bit of interest on that day. So there will be first trains on each of the new lines, which we will share with the public for the very keen, for the very early in the morning. And we'll obviously be providing extra customer support and communication during that day, just in terms of making sure everybody who is showing up to use the network on that day and in the following days when it goes into weekdays and people heading to the office, that people know that the service has changed and there's extra people, ambassadors there out to support them and answer their questions. And as it says there, we were expecting a high level of media interest. Just a little bit more on those first looks. I mentioned that they will be ticketed, so the tickets will be available firm, if you like, a week before. And we're asking people to come in the hour they've signed up for. We will have some, I guess, more targeted hours during those sessions, including one that is quiet and low sensory, that's for people who, for a variety of reasons, prefer or need that in order to engage with an event like that. Trains won't be running to the new stations on these days, but we will be encouraging people to use public transport to get there. There's obviously options to connect by bus, and it will be possible to drive, but we obviously want to encourage the use of public transport to get there. Worked really closely with the 3 business associations on their activities during the days of this event. We're obviously hoping that if a lot of people attend, they will also then go and deliver a bit of a boost out to those local businesses, and they'll be having a role inside the station during the events as well. And we won't be providing anything inside the events that compete with local businesses in terms of food or drink or anything like that. And across the council group, close collaboration, and Tātaki will be looking at what's happening around the city on the same day. The other thing we shared yesterday was our preview journey planner tool, enabling people to have a look at how their journeys are going to change, and hopefully for many how their journeys will improve when the city railing opens. Given that every train service across Auckland is changing when we do this, we're really putting the effort into making sure people know about it and are prepared for what it will look like. That looks and feels similar, well, it is in fact a part of our existing journey planner tool, but allows you to see the trip post the CRL using the new train services. And people will experience a range of changes, including the time they catch their train at their local station might be different, even if it ultimately takes them to the same destination. And they'll have new options to travel by train that may be more convenient than current train options. So we're really promoting the use of that. And some of the other tools we'll be using, I've outlined on the slide, but making sure both our existing customers and potential ones are well informed about the change before they experience it on their first day travelling after the CRL opens.
Kia ora tātou, Mr Chair, councillors. My learned colleagues have spoken about the preparation for day one. The mission now is to sustain the performance and the reliability of the asset so we can continue delivering for our customers. So where are we at the moment with respect to the key highlights? We are working with our regular maintenance cadence from midnight to 5 in the morning on Sunday to Thursday to maintain the asset. We have cut our reactive way of working in the last 2 years since 2024 by 33%, and with effect today we're around 60 to 65% less reactive than we were based on the level of investment and our new ways of working as at today. We are making use of technology systems such as drones, information suites that are being imported onto our mobile inspection cars to work on a data-led, intelligence-rich environment so we can intervene early and maintain the level of service we need for the asset to deliver 16 trains an hour based on the timetable requirements of our customers and our funders. The asset renewal and upgrade program, we will be using an advanced forward look in the next 12, 24, 36 months. We'll be looking at partial network closures. Partial. We are not shutting the network, those days are finished. We'll be using technology and we'll be using the annualised periods of our holiday breaks, around 36 days annually, thereabouts, to use partial network shuts to maintain the network for invasive work that needs to be done based on the time and scale. And they'll be done at Christmas, Easter and some of the public holidays. But they'll be done so we can still operate services for the people of Auckland. So we'll be working around the services to allow the trains to run. So what can you look forward to with respect to when CRL opens? Future shutdowns will be partial network closures. They will not be full network shuts. That is a thing of the past, as I reiterated previously. The way that will be developed will be a forward forecast, a minimum of 12 to 24, working on 36 months advance warning to our partners of when those closures those partial network shuts will be, where they will be, what the impact will be, and what services will continue to run for the people of Auckland. For the summer of 26 and 27, the network will remain open for services until the 2nd of January, and then we'll be commencing a series of shuts or partial closures on the southern line and the western line to complete vital works, the commissioning of the Manurewa crossovers for signalling, the commission of Pirata works for the Mission Bush line linking to the NIMT South, and also on the western line. Those have been well publicised and communicated by our partners to the public. There will be no trains run in the October Labour weekend period. That is full open services for the people of Auckland. The only period of partial closures between now and Christmas will be the weekends of 7th and 8th of November and the 14th and 15th of November. It's important to note that non-essential CRL work has been prioritised after the testing so that we can ensure that the new assets are fully integrated to the old assets. Next slide, please. Thanks, Mark. Might be it. That's it. End of questions. Any questions?
Thank you, team. Okay, first question, Tope. Surprised me.
Kia ora, Chair, thank you. I was going to ask two questions, but the first one is answered every time in the past, so it doesn't look like we're going to get an answer to that one. But what's next for, once it's open, what's next for the rail corridor here in Tamaki? Is there some big plan or what?
Through the Chair, yes, there's a 30-year programme business case, which is jointly developed about 2 years ago between QRL and AT, and that outlines every capital programme and operational improvement that is planned over the next 30 years or so. In the very short term, over the next 6 to 12 months, we're looking to increase frequencies across the network as we bed in the day one timetable. And of course, there's the ongoing programme of level crossing removals and grade separation, which will allow us to further increase frequencies across the network. That will also require additional fleet. So after CRL, we'll be looking at starting procurement activities around that as well.
Is there anything big happening between, say, Helensville and Henderson over that next period?
Councillor, as part of the program business case that Mark alluded to, there is in the 30-year program, Avondale Southdown Crosstown Railway link that is being scoped as part of that strategic plan. With respect to the specific parameters you asked in your question, at the moment, it's just that crosstown component that has been looked at in the longer term, medium to longer term.
Will I get to see it?
Yeah, the program business case has been jointly worked with, as Mark alluded to, with AT and KiwiRail, so it is available to view and it's part of our strategic planning, so in my mind, visibility to council would be something that could be, Mark, you might be able to add to that.
Sorry, you're referring to the program business case? Could you see that, or the actual
It might have
works?
been tongue in cheek, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
getting on. I am getting on, and I hope to have at least another 20 years. So
You definitely see some of the works in that period.
Greg?
Yeah, thank you. I think the signalling of the opening of the CRL also triggers another signal to me, and that was around the investigation of trains to Huapai. I just want to raise it again because we've got the right people in the room, and the question's in the context of, my understanding is once the CRL got open, there might be some capacity to look at how trains to Huapai might be up to worked up, who might be funding it. It has to be a joint response, Mr Chair, between Auckland Council, Auckland Transport and Kiwi Rail in terms of where does that funding come from and how does it happen, if it's going to happen, and when will it happen. So my question is, just because we've got the right people in the room, who would be sponsoring that, and would we have anything back in time for the LTP processes? Because a part of its funding, I'm looking really for a time frame when we might be able to get some initial work done in case it can be incorporated into the upcoming LTP. And who's driving it? Who's the sponsor of that to get that work underway? I thought it might have been driven by Kiwi Rail, but I may be wrong. So if I could get some advice on that.
As we've, and QL has previously said, yes, there will be capacity to look at that again after CRL opens. There's been a number of studies, as councillors are aware, over the years. In terms of sponsorship, I would suggest it's probably a combination of AT and QRL, coming back to the council on that further review and a timeline around it. Would there be enough work to build in a budget into LTP? Probably not, and the work needs to be redone to look at the capital investment.
Thanks, Mark. Sarah?
Thank you. Great to see the sensory option. Cheers for that. I have to admit, I took a while to find it because you had to click on the link from the email that you sent. So I did for a while there. I thought I was going to ask you a very grumpy question this morning, but I'm not going to. The question I actually had, I can't sort of see from the presentation, I haven't been able to figure out what the kind of success measures are for the sort of first 6 months or so, and whether we'll get kind of eyes on that at some point. Like I can see the plans and the aspirations and things like that, but it's I haven't seen anything that's kind of measurable yet. So will we get a chance to see that, or can you expand on that now?
I guess ultimately the measures of success come through the SOI with our patronage targets and performance targets around punctuality and reliability. That's ultimately what the customer is looking for. Reliability of service, availability of service, delivery against the timetable that's published. So we'll be reporting against the SOI, including rail patronage outcomes as well.
So that there won't be any special CRL related targets, if you like. It's kind of the adaptation of the current ones. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct, because the CRL is an integral part of the whole rail network. So we're measuring the performance of the whole rail network, including the performance of the assets from QRail. So at the moment, for example, we are measuring things at a lower level, obviously, in terms of KPIs. So the asset performance is measured against what we call temporary speed restrictions across the network. There's a target for us to deliver our reliability and punctuality against a timetable of what we call lost minutes across the network of 4.5 minutes in the hour. And at the moment, QRL are well within that target for day one launch of currently around 2 minutes, 20 seconds. So we are measuring, obviously, performance at a lower level as well.
Perhaps I might just add a little bit more, Councillor and Mark. There is a benefits realisation plan, which is currently in draft, that's being worked through at the moment, which looks at much broader at the benefits from CRL as well. And that will come to committee when it's completed, or a final version.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard?
Thank you. Very excited. First question is about the question you said we couldn't ask, but about the opening date. Obviously, it feels like my favourite day of August 30 is gone. But is there any way in the next couple of days that it can be announced just what month? Because there is a lot of people getting upset, concerned. There's a lot of businesses who just want kind of hope. Some people are like, is it August, September, or is it November, December? And I think just putting something out there to give people another bit of, oh, okay, so it's around this time. I know you're going to say no, but I think people deserve a little bit of direction if you know it. And I know the two issues behind the scenes why there's a little bit of delay. Is there any way to bring down that 6-week date announcement at all? Can we help?
At this point, can we just hold that, please? Yeah, look.
I mean, but like we're getting asked, well, I'm getting asked all the time. I think we just need to know, is there any way to squeeze down that 6-week period? Maybe there isn't, but can any of us do advocacy to whoever to help? If there's no way to help, then there's no way to help. But if I didn't ask.
It's the most common question I think everybody at that table and myself gets asked. Let's just keep on working through the process, and it is getting closer, if I may.
Okay. Thank you. Two other questions. On the shutdowns, can we make sure somehow that days like New Year's Eve, Auckland Anniversary Day, that we think about, yes, we need to have summer shutdowns, but I think people go, we're a big city, we should be able to catch the train home, things like that. Are there thinking going on about that, how that works?
Yeah, 100%, Councillor. I think what we worked with AT was for the Christmas closure. We're making sure that Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, that period from the 25th through to the 2nd of January, as an example, was open to the public so they can run services, so a modern city can actually have a commuter network they can rely on. And we want to enable those special events to be supported, and more importantly, the people to go to the heart of the city. So the design thinking around that is exactly where we wish to be going forward, and that is in the modelling.
Okay, that's great news. On the timetables, great to see them, and it's looking good. There's lots of improvements there, including at the night. But I will ask, is there any wriggle room with those late night times? Even the Wednesday, Thursday, is there any way to make it a little bit later? It does seem a little early to be shutting, especially for workers or people who want to go out and have dinner and a few drinks. Is there going to be a 6-month window where we might move some of those times? I know you're trying to do the shutdown to do maintenance after midnight, and you got a bit better in the weekend. But
yeah, look, that's another good question. And the forward forecast, the reason we're going for I talked about a 12, 24, 36-month planning horizon. The intention is to be at a position of preventative maintenance in the next 2 years or so, or thereabouts. That's the aim, because we've got to bed in the asset, get the cadence and the tempo of the network working. And to your point, yes, it is in our thinking that eventually we talk with our rail partners, and particularly with AT, around the frequency of services, because the intent for a modern city would to have later running of services for long weekends and those sorts of things. Again, that is in the thinking. I can't put a timeline on it, but that is our challenge as the maintainer and the asset owner to our partners in terms of delivering what they need around a reliable asset. But to your point, it's in our thinking. I can't give you a timeline on it, but it's certainly something that is on our radar.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. You keep you're now talking about the timetable as the day one timetable. So is it is it flexible from there on? And is it?
It's the day one timetable because it's day one. It's the base timetable that's been modelled, that's been consulted on through the RLTP, the RPTP, and if that timetable operates well, we've got no reason to expect it not to, given that we've now rehearsed it and tested it, etc. That is the structure for that timetable, for the service structure. What we do want to do is increase the frequencies against that.
Thank you. Just second question, we're about to spend an extraordinary amount of money of $4.8 billion on the Northwestern busway, so it said in the paper, for one section of it. Up there in Kumeu, we're going to buy some properties. Right on the other side of those properties is the railway line. Would you not consider that Kumeu is really ripe for a very integrated and special transport hub? So would you agree with that?
I'm not sure I can agree with that just yet, but as we've said earlier in response to a question, we are committed with KeyRail to doing a piece of work after CRL opens to look at Herby.
I'm not trying to find the sponsor, I'm trying to find the handbrake. So we run freight trains on that line all the time, correct?
We run well, not all, 5 services a week, but that'll expand.
And is there any physical impediment why we can't get passenger carriages through the Swanson Tunnel?
Various studies before have identified what capital work would be needed, and it is in the tens of millions, and that's the piece of work I'm referring to that we've committed to do after CRL, which is to review that and to come back with the actual requirements to potentially operate a passenger service.
Okay, last question. Do you think you could sneak those tens of millions out of the 4.8 billion that we're spending on the busway and do it all at once?
You don't have to answer that. Desley.
Thanks. Look, I had a question also on your future shutdowns because I know we're not going there with the opening date, but if you just think it's got to be somewhere between now and Christmas, there's going to be a very short period of time when everything opens up, then you begin to do partial shutdowns again, right? And so I'm keen to know where I can find those future January 26, 27 shutdowns, where they're going to be and when they're going to be. And my second question is aligned with, are you talking to Auckland Council events and people who are activating summer-based activities, especially in the central city, that you are not shutting down when something major is happening at Eden Park, at Go Media, in the central city, just so there is a bit of an alignment here?
Yeah, Disney. As I said, alluded to before, with our rail partners on joint comms and giving a forward look and optic around what the partial closures look like. The focus is obviously to rebuild patronage. It's been and have less disruption. We're moving away from what we've done in the past, thank God, and we're now moving to something that is tangible. What the intent is, to Kiwi Rail Comms and AT Comms would be talking about what that joint storybook looks like for 12 months and then predict out to 24 and then give businesses and the public an exact picture of what parts of the network may be disrupted based on the need to continue to do more invasive maintenance over those holiday periods, where that is, what the locations are, what type of work. So it's really closer, collaborative, using all of our media modes, and really AT leading the charge with respect to interfacing with the community and the business owners in Auckland, but Kiwi Rail providing the collateral and the exactness around where those partial closures, I'm not using the word shut, partial closures are on the network, so we continue to run services. The other key thing we've had from Mark and our partners in AT, that special events need to be sponsored, right? So we are working around not avoiding disruption for special events so that they can occur to rebuild patronage, more importantly, build the confidence and assurance of the people of Auckland. They have a metro network that they can use because we need to rebuild the heart, and we're very aware as a maintainer we need to work around that.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And I look, it's probably inappropriate, and maybe I'll call it a rhetorical question, but to the media in the room, can we somehow set an expectation so it's not negative? You've opened, it's fantastic, and all of a sudden it's shut again. We have to keep that positive narrative going. You will need some significantly good comms, and I suggest that you talk to some of the people in this room as a start of a 10.
Julie.
Kia ora. I have a question about it's sort of outside of the remit of the direct stations that you've been working on, which are looking amazing. But what else we need to be thinking about as we look at the LTP and our work program for the next sort of projects to enable more frequency, more trains, getting to that 8 trains per hour. So, you know, what do we need to be doing as council to secure the projects and investment that will take us to that next step when the time comes?
We have included, obviously, in the current bids for the LTP and the RLTP, what we expect we will need over the next 10 years. As I mentioned earlier, the key focus areas need to be level crossings, removing that constraint on the network, additional fleet. We are looking, so we will, after CRL opens, we will start to look at what the next procurement round for fleet is, and that would be going to the market in the next couple of years. In addition, there's some, this is OPEX for council because it's through the network access agreement, but there's a number of pieces of work on the network as well where QL needs to improve the resilience of being able to operate single line running, which allows us to stay open later in the evenings and things like that while the maintenance work happens. So those would be the 3 key focus areas for us, I think.
Okay, thank you. And I guess one of the things I've been thinking about, and again, sorry, this is outside of the stations you've been working on, but there's that bigger piece about some of our stations need a bit of a glow up, right? Some of the further flung ones. And the example that's top of mind for me at the moment is, and I don't expect you to have an answer on this right now, is the lift at Middlemore, which has been out for ages. People have to get off at Otahuhu and that kind of stuff. So how do you suggest that we sort of make the most of this moment where we're going to have a lot of people trying PT for the first time, to give them a good experience at the stations they'll be getting on at, to experience the stations that you're finishing off?
I will follow up on the Middlemore lift and come back to you. But to answer the question, for the first few weeks and potentially a couple of months, we will be having what we call a hypercare program focused across the network, which has additional staff, additional improved response times to things like escalators and lifts across the network, ambassadors supporting customers across the network, not just at the new stations. It's more important to actually help people at the outer reaches of the network as well. So we do have a focus program around that, and we can certainly talk to that at the next committee meeting as well, to help people to actually learn how to use the network and to make the most of it.
Great, thanks. Appreciate that acknowledgement that the people using your new stations are coming from other stations, so that's important. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Morrison. Seeing we've been able to wander way out west, I thought we might take a quick trip out east. One of the big draw cards for the rail network for people in our area is that they can get to the Panmure station and then use the train from there and be in town in 15 minutes and back. And it's well oversubscribed. I try to do it myself. But one of the really big hurdles is coming up, that's a black cloud on the horizon, is the plan for Auckland Council to sell the huge block of land that is used where people park. And there will no longer be anywhere to get to the train to park. If you come out any morning, you're like, I went there this morning, there was just no way you could get a car park there, it was just completely full. Do you have any input to the council's property arm about the plan to sell the big open paddock that is used, or have they just got the right to go ahead and don't even consult with you on that?
I am aware of conversations. Whether consultation is being undertaken, I'm not sure. I'd need to come back to you on that. I need to get across the project, to be fair, in the timelines, but I can come back to you on that and where we're at. Certainly, we have a park and ride strategy which encourages park and rides at the periphery of the network. I'd need to, again, go away and look at that and come back to you on where Panmure sits in that strategy.
So maybe that just generates a supplementary. You've got a park and ride strategy, but you're not going to provide any park and rides at the Eastern Busway bus terminals, are you?
I'm not across that project. We can come back to you.
Okay, we'll ask AT when they come.
Okay. No, I've got a question just for you, John. Has there been any progress on a request to the CEO and to the Minister in regards to the way in which Kiwi Rail manage in real time disruption on the line and moving away from a freight-based disruption sort of plan where they close the whole line and until someone's able to go and clear it for hours on end to a more pragmatic approach? Has there been any progress on it?
Yeah, Andy, look, I haven't got an immediate answer for you, but what I do know is part of the, when we merged the AROC and established the Ops Centre with Train Control Network Authorities, Auckland One Rail and Kiwi Rail amalgamation, part of the CRL program is upgrading our rules, procedures and processes. And with the comment Mark alluded to before about single line running in terms of having the system now to actually have a third main and divert passenger services if there was an incident or a breakdown of a freight on a mixed mode network, which we have the capacity and resilience in the network to run trains more freely and minimise disruption. In terms of other processes and systems, I do know that we are looking at upgrading our rules and procedures in line with the new systems we've imported to ensure that we are looking at minimising disruption, triaging it better and using automation and systems that are internationally benchmarked to make it better. I can report back, ETCS is a classic example of a safety system we've fitted to freight so that we can run safer operations and meet the regulators' requirements and our requirements as in accordance with the safety case. That program is advanced and will be in action by CRL day one, so that will deconflict and allow freight and passengers to run safely and freely. In terms of incident management and the processes, they are on the radar to be upgraded, and by the next meeting I'll be able to come back to you with a formal answer.
It's cool because I mean, if we want CRL to be operating at its peak, we can't be stopping for some random issue down on the line somewhere. Chris.
Oh, just following on from others, it's interesting when you look at international evidence of whether there are benefits in having low-key openings and making sure things are going really well and then escalating up the fanfare. But that's just an observation that I've made. My question is following on from Councillor Sayers, and that is looking at the network once CRL is open and the work that is going on while you're all assembled here. I have a particular interest in what is going to be important for the overall network looking forward, and that is the Avondale Southdown line. Can you give me any updates on work that might be relevant to the network and how that fits once the CRL does open, and also what the status of the designation on the Avondale Southdown line is, just so I've got clarity around it.
Yeah, Councillor Fletcher, thank you. Back to Mark's point, the program business case gives a 30-year horizon. One of the immediate investment cases and focus for Kiwi Rail is creating a crosstown railway from Avondale to Southdown, primarily to segregate and allow freight and a mixed mode network to operate and to, more importantly, add resilience to run more passenger services. There's also a plan within that business case to look at the parallel opportunities next to the rail called for urban growth and align with Council's unitary plan of what opportunities are available in a private-public partnership. All of those things are being scoped. Now, the lead on that is our GM, Gwyneth McLeod. What I could undertake, if Chair is amicable, at the next, we could give you an update and detail from what that PBC looks like with a specific picture of the Avondale Southdown Crosstown Railway scope and the intent of what that opportunity could unlock for Auckland. Would that be amicable for Council?
I think that would meet what is a bit of a gap for us at the moment in our understanding because it does strike me as difficult that we are making big decisions over PC 120, but we're not actually understanding how the network might look going into the future. So, Chair, I mean, it's your call, but I certainly would really welcome that level of detail. Do you want to speak further to the designations? That is an issue that is concerning me.
Councillor Fletcher, I'll have to come back to you. I haven't got the detail of the designations you require, so that could be packaged up as a follow-on, Chair.
No, all good. Daniel?
Good morning. Thank you very much for, in anticipation of the opening, the new timetable. On what date does that apply? The new timetable, what date does that apply? Okay, that's pretty clever. Right, so look, very grateful to KiwiRail for the excellent work that's taken place at Drury and Pairata. I know that it was a very cold morning this morning, but I and a number of my colleagues were there, and it was great to see the dawn blessing. I had a question with respect to Ngākura station at Burt Road. I just wondered if KiwiRail could give an update as to when you anticipate the physical works to be completed for that station. It's the last of the 3 stations on the Southern Line under construction at the moment.
Sorry, Councillor, can you just repeat the station? I just missed that.
Ngākura.
Oh, Ngākura station. On my plan when I left the office this morning, it was June next year. But I'll have to come back to confirm, because again, I'm not over all of. I've got them in my head, but I need to verify that date.
Okay, I'm pretty keen to get an update on that, and I also need to find out whether Auckland Transport's got its related work aligned for that, because St Ignatius, the local Catholic secondary school, is close by, and that station is a critical hub for a lot of mine, Councillor Moniata's and Councillor Baker's constituents to be able to attend that school via using the trains. So if you could give us an update there, that would be good. Thank you, Chair.
And second question, Ken, CRL, is it?
Mr. Knight, on that plan on your wall, after that date, could you write QMU, please?
Certainly, Councillor.
Mike, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's more of a comment, really, I guess. I apologise, I missed the early part of the presentation, but in terms of the slide on the screen, we've been over this so many times before, it seems like every month. Back in 2020, we had 21 million passenger trips per year on our rail network. We now have about 14, possibly 15 with a little bit of hope, a 1/3 cut. When the RNR, or formation work, capital work, was commenced, it was decided in the wisdom of managers not to take into account the imperatives or indeed the convenience of passengers, rail passengers, but to shut the network down to get the job done as quickly as possible in time for the opening of the CRL, which we were assured at that time, late 2022, was going to be late 2024. I'm not too sure when it will be open, obviously, but if this sort of practice in terms of disrupting the network, reading through the lines there is going to carry on, any idea of getting a serious passenger rail service, commuter rail service in Auckland to be viable and to make any sort of meaningful contribution to the other item on the agenda, a pathway to emissions reductions, is not going to happen. So what I would like to say to Kiwi Rail and to CRL Limited as it relates to services, if this sort of disruption is going to carry on, there's going to be a real problem, not from the councillors so much, it would appear, but certainly from the people of Auckland. That is just not acceptable. You're going to have to change your management practices, because to me, this ongoing disruption, an inefficient way of dealing with rail maintenance, which seems to be completely different to what you would expect in a modern city, is just not acceptable. It's all it will do is maintain the mediocrity of our services right now. And to be honest with you, I'm sure the people of Auckland are not going to tolerate Kiwi Rail jerking them around in this way. They have to have a fundamental change in their practices. And that's the message, I guess, for you guys to take home and think about, because coming in here is pretty easy compared to what is likely to happen when people find out what's going to happen after the CRL opens, when it does, which is still a secret. Thank you.
Lottie.
Kia ora, thanks Chair and thanks team. Apologies for missing the first part. I'll just start off by saying that I took part in the last emergency test run alongside Councillor Patterson-Hamlin, and it was a really, really good day. It was beautiful stations, but luckily it was also a beautiful day. So although we were testing the emergency processes, you know, everything went quite smoothly and nothing really went wrong. So just wanted to thank you for that. My question is around the communications out to our community and out to our residents. Obviously, this is a project that's gone over quite a bit of time, gotten quite a bit of negative feedback, and we're still seeing a lot of that coming through online. So the communications going forward will be really important at this stage. And I did note in your slides that you mentioned having ambassadors leading up to the time on the day and then in the early stages as well. Can I ask, are those ambassadors sourced from existing staff, or are you working with community groups from the local areas where the stations are located? What's the makeup of those ambassadors? Kia ora.
Kia ora, Councillor. Yeah, my team's responsible for that. When we, just to quickly touch on the ambassador's point, and then maybe a slightly broader point after that, we have, Auckland Transport uses ambassadors all the time when we have changes to public transport network. We have a company that we use. They're actually running a recruitment drive at the moment. It's kind of probably a student job for a lot of people, but we will be definitely, as you say, deploying those across the network, and as Mark kind of touched on earlier. So what I'll be expecting to see that they will be from right across Auckland, depending on who kind of responds to that recruitment drive, and then we train them to make sure they can answer the questions about how the trains will operate and the things we're expecting customers to want to talk to them about. We're also really, I guess, putting as much effort as we can. We don't have kind of dozens of people right now, but with the team we do have, to reach out to a really diverse group of communities and go and present to as many groups as we can, community groups, ethnic community groups, business groups, some churches even, and so we're really trying to make sure that we are having that wide reach beforehand, and same with our kind of wider comms, making sure we try to get those to reach as many people as possible.
Kia ora, thanks for that, and I know that Alf and I can certainly help you to connect to some of our ethnic communities in our ward. Kia ora. Thanks, Chair.
We'd love to take you up on that.
Thank you. No further questions. I'm happy to move. Someone like to second? Thanks, Greg. Any debate? None. Thank you, gents. Appreciate your coming in and taking the time. And so I'll put it, those in favour say aye. Aye. And against, carried. We're going to break for lunch. If you want to race down and see Ryan Fox with his old claret jug, that is on, and so yeah, apologies for the, I was hoping to be a little bit further on, but the AT team, we will be back with the Auckland Transport update at 1:15. So you've got plenty of time to get down to Takatai Square and have a look, or to get across the road and get yourself a pork bun, Elf. 1:15 back here, and then we'll be, first item will be the Auckland Transport update, followed by the transport emissions item. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you at 1:15.